What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Best Bet show. As always, I'm your host, Matty Chucks, and a new person there is not Austin's props, even though they kind of look alike in some weird way. Austin is enjoying himself in England with the other part of the FlashPicks team. I could not make the trip, so I have to settle for Alex Caruso. Just kidding. Alex, it's always a pleasure to have on the show. It's great to have you back. How are you feeling, buddy? What's going on?
I'm feeling so great for today. We get the Thursday night football game of the year, Bears and Commanders. Probably the most boring game in Thursday night football history, but I think there's a lot of value to have on it. People don't want to bet on it. I think there's a little bit more edge because there's a lot less handle going out on the books tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are getting kind of sick and tired of the Thursday games verbally, but they're still going to bet on it. They're still going to do their thing, but it's definitely not as going to be volume heavy as like a Bills Chiefs would be. Obviously, Commanders 6-point favorites. I see some money going in on the Bears +6. Surprisingly, over and under 44.5 kind of jumped up from 42.5. I mean, the Bears are kind of the laughing stock of the league right now at this point. After so much hype in the preseason, can we talk about that for a second? I feel like everyone was like, "Oh, Justin Fields got a star player in a wide receiver role. It's gonna make them a million times better. He's gonna make the Jalen Hurts leap." And here we are.
I think you got overrated just how I still think Justin Fields is actually a good quarterback. I just think the coaching staff is like beyond abysmal. It's like what the Broncos had last year, where like you see all the pieces on paper and how good Justin Fields made their staff look. But once they got actual weapons, like they did nothing to help their scheme out right now. And I think it's looked treacherous. I think there is a little bit of hope after what we saw last week. But again, this team has absolutely no defense, and that over 44. I mean, with two defenses that are this bad, could get pretty interesting, regardless of the offenses.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is gonna be, can Justin? I think Justin Fields in a prove it role. He's gonna be going crazy. I think, there's gonna be tons. I think there's gonna be a lot of yardage in this game. Just depends on field goals or touchdowns. Is probably the way I see it happening. So I think someone might hit a nice prop today, even in this horrible game. Um, who do you see winning this game if you had to pick a side? And do you like the over, or do you think it's gonna be pretty ugly?
I like the over to start, just because I think the defenses are just not going to be great, especially the Bears are missing Jalen Johnson, their number one corner. Everyone else in that defense absolutely blows. And I think that they're going to get walked over by the Commanders. I think anyone saying the Bears are going to win are crazy, especially after blowing that giant lead to the Broncos that are just as awful. So I think the Commanders have shown they can win games already. I think they're going to end up winning this one, ugly or blowout.
Yeah, I have to agree. I would like this game to be competitive for my sake. I really don't care who wins. So I want a competitive game. I'd like to see a Thursday night game that's not 30-10
Yep.
in the fourth. That'd be nice.
Just one.
Yeah, just one or any primetime game, really, honestly. That's not on a Sunday. But let's get into a little bit. What position players are you targeting? I know we talked previously about tight ends being probably a good spot. I posted some of my plays already on Twitter, uh, really with some tight ends, some running back receiving yards. How do you see this game playing out? Is anyone that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, the tight ends are definitely where I want to go. Both Logan Thomas and Cole Kmet, the two tight end ones, are really favorable against the coverages that the other team runs. So I think that both those guys are in sneaky good spots. I think the only like things that are semi good about these teams are their run defenses. Like the Bears on paper, as far as fantasy football, they've given up a lot of touchdowns and a lot in the receiving game. But their run defense is like one of the best in the NFL as far as just yards per carry goes. The Commanders have always been a tougher run defense. They've been about middle of the pack this year. But where they really struggle are on the outside boundary corners. And then that's where this game could get really ugly really quick, is neither corners on either team can cover anybody, which could make this some really interesting spots if Sam Howell and Justin Fields can get their guys the ball.
Yeah, I hope it's an interesting game. I wish there was a way for football to like do the baseball thing of juice the balls or whatever you want to do. This would be a game to kind of give the fans what they want. But they probably know that we're going to watch it anyway. Let's dive into some defensive props. We talked about the Commanders defense really not being the force that we thought it would be. I feel like the last couple years they've kind of held on to some games just by their defense. But we're talking about a good matchup against one of the worst offenses statistically this year. We're going to go to Chase Young to record a sack at plus 120 on Bet365. Plus money for Chase Young to record a sack. He's done it in 2 or 3 games. You could talk a little bit about the Bears and how often they get sacked. Do you want to dive in a little bit about those stats?
Yeah, they're I mean, one of the worst offensive lines in the league. I mean, they literally just have walking turnstiles both outside in their offensive line and inside, giving up pressures and sacks at one of the highest rates in the NFL. I mean, Justin Fields, I think, is second in sack rate at quarterbacks, meaning he gets sacked the second most among any quarterback. The only guy above him is Daniel Jones. And again, the offensive line has no hope. The strength of the Commanders defense, like I mentioned with their run defense, is their defensive line. And then that's where Chase Young comes in, especially against a perfect matchup for them on the outside of the offensive line. I think this is a really good spot for him to get a sack.
Yeah, I'm even looking at his game log too. He had 1.5 sacks against Denver. That was obviously a close game.
Yep.
0 sacks in the 37-3 loss versus the Bills, and 1 sack versus the Eagles in that really close 34-31 overtime game. So seems like, maybe I didn't really watch that Bills game. Maybe he just wasn't, playing as crazy down 34 points. But best opportunity he's going to have. Justin Fields also can hold the ball a little longer, try to escape, not get to the line of scrimmage, and Chase Young just got to get a body on him. I love watching him play. It'll make me want to watch the Bears offense to just try to watch him get a sack. So that's always a bonus as well. And going to the second play, another plus money play. You talked about a little bit with the tight ends. Tell us why you think Cole Kmet over 3.5 receptions is good value at that number.
Well, especially at plus 135 on Bet 365, I think 3.5 receptions is a really good number, especially because the Commanders run mostly cover 3 and cover 4, which is really rare for defenses. And Cole Kmet sees a 19% target per route run rate versus those two coverages versus a 15% target per route run rate versus everything else. And it seems like a small gap, but as far as tight ends go, like that, like anything close to 20% is a massive number. And so far, the Commanders have been a team that's not that great against tight ends. They haven't faced anybody super, super crazy yet. And I think this is a perfect spot for Cole Kmet to continue what he did last week and put on another huge performance.
Yeah, I mean, 3 of the 4 games he's gone over. The only game he didn't was the 41-10 blowout loss to the Chiefs. And, if game script is real and they're down 6 points, down 10, 14 points late in the game, they're going to have to sling it. And if they're playing a little prevent defense, you could see a nice little fourth quarter cash for you. But, I mean, looking at the game log, 5 catches on 7 targets, 4 on 6, 7 on 9. It's not like he's going 4 for 4 each time and catching every time he's been targeted. His targets are through the roof, honestly, especially 9 last week. Obviously, if he's going to catch a few early on, they're probably going to feed him a little more. So if you have 2 at half, I think you're pretty comfortable there. And that, again, that price, we got 2 plays here for you guys. Both are plus money to reiterate. Chase Young to get a sack plus 120. Cole Kmet over 3.5 receptions plus 135. You get one, you're positive. You get both. That's a great payout day. That's what we try to provide for you guys. Again, guys, Alex is also going to have his plays in his newsletter and on Twitter. I'll link that in the description below. And now let's get into the fun stuff. First touchdowns. You picked one. I picked one. We all didn't get one last week. I forgot he even scored last time we did this. Do you remember who scored on the Niners?
It was Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell was like over plus 2,000 odds and hit it.
Yeah, none of us picked Ronnie Bell, but we did go one on each side. You have someone on the Bears. I have someone on the Commanders. You talk about yours first and why you like the value.
Well, first of all, I have to hit the newsletter. Hit 3 of our last 4 first touchdown plays. We're on a hot streak right now. I think DJ Moore continues it. I love the juice at plus 1,500 on FanDuel right now. And I think that he is set up perfectly. He scored a touchdown in back-to-back games. Like I mentioned, the Commanders' biggest weakness in their defense is their outside corners, which is perfectly where DJ Moore is going to be most of the time. If they're going to have a chance in this game, it is through DJ Moore in the passing game. And I think that he's the guy that I think most likely continues that touchdown streak and falls in the end zone first to start the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I told him before the show to not read that stat, so you guys would pick mine and not his, but he is crushing the first touchdown market. Definitely sprinkle on that. And again, this Thursday game is probably going to suck. If you're not betting on the first touchdown, you're not having fun. I'm not saying put your mortgage on it, but throw some guac money on it. take a little sacrifice, enjoy the day. I'm gonna talk about mine real quick. The real guy who's gonna score the first touchdown needs no introduction. Terry McLaurin plus 1,000 on FanDuel. A little worse odds. You get the Commanders, which is probably the team I'd pick to score first. Um, it's probably going to be a rushing touchdown if I had to really pick, but I'm not betting plus 500 on Brian Robinson. That's just not going to happen. And Scary Terry could catch a deep one here, and he's a trusted target, the wide receiver one. I like the odds. If I see 4 digits on that price, I'm probably taking a chance on this when they're the favorites as well. So I'm going to take Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry plus 1,000 on FanDuel. Those are a lot of good odds. Obviously, we can't go 2-0 on our plays and both get the first touchdown scores. That's not how first touchdown scores work. But if we can go 2-0 and hit one of the first touchdown scores, that's a great night. Alex, do you have anything you want to say to the fans before we log off?
Man, the tight ends of the spot tonight. I know they're boring, they're not fun, but whether it's Logan Thomas or Cole Kmet, I think that's where a lot of my money's going to be on tonight because I think those guys are just set up in these really prime spots against weird defenses that struggle versus the position.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. If there's one thing to take away from this episode, it's that Alex Caruso loves tight ends. And that is going to be the number one lesson from the show. As always, thank you guys for tuning in from the Best Bet Show. The boys are on their trip in England, as I said before. Stay tuned for more guests this weekend. Give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And when the boys are back, we'll be in full throttle. Go follow Alex Caruso, sub to his free newsletter as well, and you'll get those plays. I mean, he posts a lot of plays, I'm not going to lie, and they're all solid. So go give him a follow, go join the newsletter, and we'll catch you next time on the next week's show. Peace.